Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Hey, we got our special guest back again. A year ago, he was the star of the What Are They Talking About in Whatever City series. Jon Burton, NewsChannel5, Nashville Sports Radio every day. Jon, welcome back to Buffalo Plus.
Mike, it's great to talk to you as always. Great to be on with you, and shout out to all my people in my beautiful home region of upstate New York. Of course, grew up right next door in central New York, and 3 hours east of Buffalo, New York. Of course, lived there for a little while and covered the Bills. So it's great to talk with you, and it's great to see the Bills off to such a great start.
Yeah, I know you've got the connection to Buffalo and working there, and a connection to the New York Giants, who's your team. From a rooting interest. There you go. And you had them in Nashville. So let's just get started with that.
Yeah.
From the perspective of the Titans first, we'll start here because they got the Bills on Monday night. Mm-hmm. Let's start with this. What you saw out of the Titans in that game, and, for stretches, they played well. Mm-hmm. But what did you see? What did you expect coming into that game? What did you see out of the Titans in that one?
I expected them to take care of business against the New York Giants. I thought, clearly they were the better team. They had the better roster. They're playing at home. You had guys with something to prove, like Ryan Tannehill coming off the bad playoff game, Derrick Henry coming off the injury, Treylon Burks, their number one draft pick, wide receiver, the guy that they've kind of anointed to replace A.J. Brown, who's now gone. A guy, Jeffrey Simmons, a defensive tackle, who's trying to get a new contract. I thought that, with the prospect of knowing that they could be walking into a potential buzzsaw next Monday night against the Bills, I thought they would take care of business against the Giants. And what we saw, and Kevin Byard, their all-pro safety, said it, and I agree, it was a tale of two halves. First half, they controlled things. They got after Daniel Jones. They sacked him. They kind of controlled things offensively. They drove the field. But, my flags started going up when they started settling for field goals in that first half, when it looked like they had a chance to really, put this game away really in the first half and allowed the Giants to come back in the second half. Yeah. Second half, the offense just didn't get it done. One touchdown. They were 1 for 5 on third down. Derrick Henry was good, but he wasn't wrecking the game. And, all month long, the Titans talked about, we have to stop Saquon Barkley, and they certainly didn't. He had 164 yards, and he had, scored a touchdown, obviously, and had the great 2-point conversion play. And, this is a team that, it's a different team than last year. Mike, I look at what happened last year when they were the number 1 seed, 12-5. They beat the Bills on that exciting Monday night game at home, but they lose to the Bengals in the divisional playoff. And I really feel like, their window for a championship is still open, but it closed significantly that night. And, then this offseason, you have issues with Treylon Burks, who you draft first overall. And, he's having trouble staying on the field at practice. You lose A.J. Brown, like I said earlier, Jeffrey Simmons starts squawking, saying, I want a new contract. There was just a lot of noise coming out of the Tennessee Titans in the offseason. And you've covered this league as long as I have, if not longer, Mike. And you know that normally when you have a noisy offseason, that usually doesn't equate to a good regular season. Now, It's early. It's still one game. But I just really felt like there were opportunities for the Titans to put this game away against the Giants, a team that are clearly better than. And they didn't get it done, and it raises a lot of flags here in Nashville, knowing that, as we said, you got to go into Buffalo next Monday night to play a Bills team that I think you would agree, Mike. I think they feel they owe the Tennessee Titans something, because if Josh Allen keeps his footing last year on Monday Night Football, they win that game.
Yeah, if you look back at the last couple of years, they had the game where there was the COVID delay, and the Titans rocked them.
Titans Tuesday, the Tuesday game.
Exactly. And then you go to last year where, all the Bills fans showing up in Nashville, but the Titans fans showed up that night too, and it came right down to the end, and the Titans got a win in this one. When I look at this team and I try to think, you mentioned a few of these guys, so I think one seems to impact the other. Like, as great a player as Derrick Henry is, in the NFL, you need a passing game as that threat to keep everybody off your back. And while Ryan Tannehill has been a good quarterback, boy, there's a big difference between, we don't know what Treylon Burks is going to become, but he's not A.J. Brown right now.
No.
And that changes a lot, doesn't it? When you look at what they're going to do, especially when we're looking to Monday night, like what they can do at the moment losing one of those big weapons and trying to replace him with a rookie.
Mike, think about it last year. Ryan Tannehill went into the season opener. His starting wide receivers were Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Now it's Robert Woods, a good receiver, maybe not a dominant number one, and Traylon Burks, a rookie who's unproven. Okay, so that's a big difference. And as of now, a big drop-off. As we sit here right now, Mike, I really think the Titans are going to be a lot easier to game plan against from a defensive standpoint. You gear up, you stop Derrick Henry, you don't let him wreck the game, and you dare one of their wide receivers to beat you deep. Now, Tannehill's good at play action. He's got a good tight end in Austin Hooper, who didn't get a lot of targets yesterday. He's got some weapons. He's got some guys that he can throw to, but, man, it's a lot different this year as opposed to last year. And I think you're going to see, Wink Martindale with no pass rush was still able to, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, was with no pass rush was still able to scheme up to where they contained Derrick Henry and really didn't get beat on a lot of deep passes. So, I think Leslie Frazier, the other defensive coordinators in the league, they're going to say, listen, Derrick Henry's not beating us. Somebody else can beat us, but Derrick Henry's not beating us. And I think it's easier when you don't have an A.J. Brown. And I said the day they traded him, I said, they're going to feel this. Traylon Burks is a great kid. He's trying hard. And Robert Woods had some really good years in L.A., but he was also playing, alongside Cooper Kupp and for a while Odell Beckham Jr. last year. So it's just a different ball game this year. It's a different offense.
Who's Kyle Phillips? Should I know who Kyle Phillips is?
Yes, you should, because he's a 4th-round pick, I believe, out of UCLA, and he's that classic slot receiver.
Okay.
Like a Danny Amendola, like a Wes Welker, like a Julian Edelman, really good short area quicks, had a great training camp, and really earned the trust of Todd Downing, the offensive coordinator of the Titans, and, of course, Ryan Tannehill, the starting quarterback. He's a playmaker, but, he's not a guy that's going to be someone that you can target 13, 14 guys in a game, but on third and short, third and medium, he's dangerous. He's also dangerous in the red zone, and he was the most targeted receiver yesterday. Yeah, 6 catches for 66 yards, I believe. So they loved him since day one, and we kind of knew that he was going to be a big part of this offense coming in. Yeah, Kyle Phillips so far is off to a good start, although he did muff that punt return yesterday.
I want to get your perspective on, you mentioned in the beginning a little bit about what you see in the Bills. It starts with 17. It starts with the quarterback.
Yeah.
You were in Buffalo before. You were here during the drought that went on forever. They've been looking for a guy. They didn't just find a guy. They might have found the guy. I mean, he right now, he's top whatever. What do you say? Top 2, top 3, whatever number you want to put on it. He's there now, right? He's that superstar. So what are they saying? I mean, I know you were probably today going over on Monday, the loss, but what do you think fans are thinking when they see the Titans go up against Josh Allen now?
One of the things I love about Josh Allen, he's got Jim Kelly's toughness, but he's no disrespect to Jim, who I loved and I got to know a little bit when I was there. Much better athlete.
He is.
I mean, you saw what he was doing Thursday night. He thought he was Bronco Nagurski. He's trying to run over guys, man. And I love that about him. He needs to curtail that, as we know. And I'm sure his coaching staff is going crazy over it. But man, he's got it all. He's got the moxie, the arm, the mobility, the confidence. You can tell his guys believe in him. And he's going to be a challenge. I think, we'll talk to the Titans defensive players later on this week. And, I'm sure they're going to say the same thing. We got to get after this guy, because if this guy has time to throw, or if he gets out of the pocket, we're in deep trouble. The Titans have a young secondary. They're losing, they've lost their number one pass rusher, Harold Landry, for the season. He had 12 sacks last year. He's not going to be in Buffalo Monday night. They know that as Josh Allen goes, so go the Buffalo Bills. And he was having a pretty good game last year on Monday night. Like I said, before he lost his footing at the 1-inch line and didn't make it in by a half an inch. So, I'm sure when we talk to the Titans players later this week, they're going to, especially the defensive players, they know that they're going to have to, find a way for Josh Allen to not wreck the game, because when he gets out of the pocket, he still keeps his eyes downfield and he can throw the ball from anywhere. And I haven't seen an arm like his since probably John Elway.
Yeah, so, it really is. The combination.
He's the real deal, Mike.
Yeah, the combination of his skills, and now he's more accurate. He sees the field. I mean, he's putting that all together. And then you talk about weapons and, what the Titans are putting out there. I mean, the Bills are putting, Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, and Davis is really becoming a go-to guy. Last year in that playoff game, everybody saw him against the Chiefs. I mean, first guy ever with 4 touchdowns and over 200 yards in a playoff game. I mean, Jerry Rice never did that,
Right.
and he did it. And he's their number 2 guy, and they, got Isaiah McKenzie. They've got Dawson Knox. Like, they have a Nashville native.
Yep.
They have really built up the combination of speed and a little bit of size and toughness over the middle and all those things that I would think is the envy of a lot of teams.
Man, I just enjoy watching the Bills play offensively because, they can score from anywhere on the field. The Diggs, the Allen to Diggs connection has become so potent. And you talk about, the number 2 receiver there who had the big playoff game last year. I mean, it's kind of like a pick your poison situation. And like you said, Knox is so dangerous as well, becoming one of the top tight ends in the NFL. This is an explosive, fun offense. They've got the youth, they've got the moxie. You can tell they're a very confident bunch. They don't feel that there's a defense in the NFL that can stop them. And for the most part, when they're clicking, they're right.
Yeah. Tell me about Simmons on the defensive line. You said he wants a new contract.
Yeah.
How good a player is he? How dominant do you think he is?
Mike, from an interior defensive line standpoint, only Aaron Donald is better, in my opinion, than Jeffrey Simmons. And he's closing the gap. This guy's disruptive. You can't block this guy one-on-one. You gotta get another guy over there to help him. He routinely drives his man into the backfield. He's great against the run. He had 2 sacks yesterday. He's becoming that Warren Sapp, Aaron Donald kind of can do it all interior defensive lineman. He's a guy that the Titans drafted a couple of years ago. He was coming off an injury. He had an off-the-field incident that some people threw their flags up about. But since he's been here, he's been a model citizen. He's a team captain. He's a team leader. He's the guy that gets everybody hyped. I mean, he is just a big, strong, mean, nasty defensive lineman. And he's like the Terminator out there. Like I said, I only think Aaron Donald is better. And, Jeffrey's a little bit younger than Aaron. And, he's hungry and he wants that new deal. And, there was talk that maybe he would either A, hold out of camp or B, hold in once he got to camp. But it looks like I'm pretty sure he's been assured that he's going to get the bag at some point, because if not here, it's going to be somewhere else. He's on the verge of becoming a very wealthy man, and he deserves it, man, because he's legit probably one of the top 20 players in the entire NFL, regardless of position. I'll even go that far.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills saw Aaron Donald last week. He made a big play early, and then they kept him kind of quiet the rest of the game. I'm sure that's what they're going to be hoping to do against Simmons. When you look on the other side of the field, the Bills had the number 1 ranked defense last year. Now, you saw in the game in Nashville a year ago, late in that game, the Titans took over offensively. They struggled in the first half. Then they made the plays. Then they drove down. And they put Josh Allen behind late in that game. They went out to get a closer in Von Miller, a guy they think can make those big plays late in the game, and he starts out in L.A. with a couple of sacks. From your perspective, seeing the league, seeing Von Miller, what he did for the Rams, joining this team at this stage of his career, what do you think he does for him?
Oh, man, I think he does wonders for them. I mean, you can never have enough good pass rushers. And you look at a guy like Von Miller, it seems like what I love about Von Miller, Mike, is the fact that he's almost like a pitcher, right? You have to be able to develop as you get older. You have to develop, when your fastball loses a little bit of velocity, you gotta get the, develop the slider, the curveball, change up, all that kind of stuff. Von Miller is capable of doing that with his, move set. He has such a varied move set. He can still bull rush you. He can still beat you to the outside. He can still loop inside on a TE stunt. He still has all the bags in the club, right? Or all the clubs in the bag, I should say. And against the Titans, you're looking at Taylor Lewan on one side at left tackle, who's, getting on in years, still good, but, he had his struggles yesterday against the Giants team that's not going to remind you of the 86 Giants team with Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks and Pepper Johnson, certainly. He had his troubles there. And then on the other side, you have Nicholas Petit-Frere, who's a rookie out of Ohio State, who they really like. He won the job in training camp, but he's still an untested rookie. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills kind of move Von Miller around to see if they can get a matchup in their favor with Von Miller. But yeah, Von Miller still, he may not quite be as good as he was a few years ago, but he's still dang good. And I know he must be having a ball in Buffalo right now playing for this Bills team.
Yeah, he's loved it. He's been pretty open about the fact, he would joke, and he lived in Buffalo. He would joke. He'd say, man, when I was coming there, I'm like, why am I leaving L.A.? He kept saying. And then he got there, and what's changed since you worked in Buffalo is that, they've built a tremendous facility now. Mm-hmm. And he said, I walked in and I saw everything that was there, and then I met all the people, and then he was like, I feel like I made the right call. And he's, it's such a different vibe here now because the players, while they would say, they love being in Buffalo. They love being there. They love working out there. Like that whole thing has shifted so quickly. And I think Josh Allen's had a lot to do with that, obviously.
Oh, I think he's had everything to do with it, Mike, don't you? When you have a franchise quarterback like that.
Yeah.
When you have a franchise quarterback like that and a team leader like that, you're gonna attract some guys to want to come to Buffalo. That plus, the wings are phenomenal. It's great pizza, beef on weck. Come on, Mike.
You know all about it.
I ate way too much of it when I lived there.
I want to ask you about. I don't know if you heard the Part of My Take podcast. They had Sean McDermott on, and he was asked about the toughest coaches in the league, physically toughest, and they mentioned Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel.
Sure.
And they asked McDermott if he could take those guys in a fight, and McDermott said, "Oh yeah, both of them at the same time."
Did he really say that?
Oh yeah. Now if you could tell, Sean McDermott, not usually first guy with jokes,
right?
But he went that way about those two. Now Dan Campbell is a big dude, and he's got an edge to him, and he seems to be trying to turn those Lions around. The Bills play them on Thanksgiving. He'll see Vrabel, and, maybe he's got to tell Vrabel I was just kidding when I said that.
No, you know what? I will say this. Braves is a tough guy. He's from Northeast Ohio. He's got that blue-collar Rust Belt work ethic in him, much like Buffalonians and people from Rochester and all that. But you know what? He actually does have a pretty decent sense of humor. Now, he doesn't display it a whole lot at his press conferences. I can tell you that. He's from the Belichick tree of, only give them so much and, never really let them know what you're thinking. But, I would think, knowing Mike as I do, I think he would get a good chuckle out of that. And, maybe we'll ask him that when we talk to him on Wednesday. I'm sure he'll have, something flippant to say about it.
Well, I don't know if Vrabel wrestled. He seems like he might have wrestled.
He looks like a wrestler, doesn't he?
Right. Well, McDermott loves everyone who's a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's talking about Aaron Donald. And he starts by saying, he's the best in the league. A former wrestler, by the way. He has to get that in every time he gets a chance. I could see Vrabel as being a wrestler at some point. Well, McDermott will know that one way or the other. Yeah, see, maybe that can be like a halftime show. We had Ozzy Osbourne when we were out in L.A. I'd much rather see Vrabel and McDermott. Yeah, I know. Seriously.
How's Ozzy doing?
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
I worry about Ozzy.
I watched his rehearsal, and I was worried about him making it to halftime, but he ended up being out there. I want to get back now, as we've talked about this, because a lot of Bills fans would be interested. You said you follow the Giants. That's always been your team. And they've got Brian Daboll there, and you got to see up close that first game, and I'm sure you've seen the video today of him dancing in the locker room and him making the gutsy calls. I've been telling my friends that are Giants fans, even being an Eagles guy, I don't root for the Giants, but I root for Brian Daboll. I think the guy was great for Josh Allen, great for Buffalo, and I think he's that guy. And I said the players will buy in. He's got to get the right players, but the players will buy in. Seeing that game yesterday, what did you see from that team that makes you think, if you do, that they might have gotten the right guy as the head coach?
That's a great question, Mike, because I remember sitting there in the press box about halfway through the fourth quarter and looking up and saying, this is a one-score game.
Yeah.
The Giants actually have a chance to possibly win this game. I didn't think they would, but I thought at that point it was going to be 41-0 because, we Giants fans have known nothing but pretty much misery for most of the last 10 years since the last Super Bowl we won. So The fact that, they were undermanned, they were without their two best pass rushers. Ojulari didn't play. Kayvon Thibodeau didn't play. They had no pass rush, but they were able to contain, that Titans offense, which can be explosive, obviously with Derrick Henry. And the fact that it was a one-score game, I love that. I love that fact that he coached them up enough to where they could stay competitive, down double digits on the road to a team that's much better than they are. Let's face it. Their ability to come back in that game. And I loved it when Daniel Jones, I hated it when Daniel Jones threw the interception in the end zone to Amani Hooker. But I love the fact that Dable got after him on the sidelines and let him know, you can't do that. That is unacceptable. You cannot turn the ball over in the red zone no matter what. Take a sack, throw it away. We have to keep the ball in that situation. We have to get points. I love that. And, of course, I love the two-point play. I remember sitting there thinking when I realized after they scored that the offense was staying out there and they were going for two, I remember thinking to myself, you know what? No matter how this turns out, I love the fact that Dable is basically telling his players, look, I trust you. I believe in you. You guys fought your butts off for me in this game. I'm going to try to reward you. Let's try to win it. We don't need to play for a tie. We're on the road. And I think Dable in the back of his mind knew if it goes to overtime, Titans are probably going to win that game, right? So why not go for the win now? And it lucked out. Listen, dude missed a field goal.
Right.
But, hey, that's not Dable's problem.
Nope.
But I've been hearing, following the Giants, I've been hearing all through training camp and what I've read is that the coaching has just been much better, than what we've seen from Pat Shurmur and Joe
They didn't
Judge.
they didn't have a high bar from
right, exactly,
Joe Judge.
Exactly. But the coaching has just been so horrendous since Tom Coughlin left. I mean, just like mind-numbingly bad. And now you get a guy in there that, it just feels like maybe the culture is changing. So, John Murphy, the great voice of the Buffalo Bills, my dear friend, he texted me today. He said, what do you think of Coach Dable now? I said, elect him president. So as a Giants fan, I'm very happy today. I cover the Titans. I was, too bad for them. But, as a Giants fan,
you're a Giants guy.
Right,
hey, the thing about with Dable, too, he used to be on the field in the beginning when he was first coaching the offense. So he was down there with Josh. And we saw him light up Josh Allen multiple times when they were on the sidelines, when he would do something dumb. And so I tell people all the time, like Ken Dorsey's in there now, and I think he'll do a great job.
Yep.
But Josh Allen, who's been with Dorsey he was a quarterback's coach, is a much more finished product now than when Brian Dable got him. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones will be the long-term guy for the Giants. I think we'll find out.
Right.
But whoever gets that job for the Giants is going to get coached and coached up. And that's what Dable is going to do. And people always say here, well, who should get the credit? And some fans don't want to give any credit and Josh has been so good. But Josh Allen says he loves Brian Dable. He said, I love him. And he's done so much for him. And Dable has this line, it's not his originally, but he uses it where he says, they don't care how much you know until you know how much you care. And I believe that's what he gets with his players. Now, it helps him this first game, and he's on the back page of the Post and all those things.
They love him now in New York.
Right. But it's good to get off to a good start. But you know what? That's who he is.
Yeah.
He's a father of 6, Buffalo guy, played defensive back at 175 pounds or whatever at the University of Rochester. Yeah. And he's fought his way through the NFL, but he's also coached with Belichick and Saban, which is a pretty good couple. He's got a bunch of rings that he has for his fingers. And I think the Giants got it right with him. And Joe Shane, the GM, who learned right there with Brandon Beane, one of Brandon Beane's best friends. So
we got Matt Breida too to spell Saquon Barkley. He had a nice game yesterday. I loved seeing that. And Mike, I love coaches that hold players accountable. That's my whole thing. This coaching matters in the NFL. These are all good athletes, good players. But you're right, the buy-in has to be there. And you talk about the street cred that Brian Dable got yesterday with his team. The fact he said, I went to a bunch of veterans when we got the ball, and I said, if we score, we're going for 2. Anybody got a problem with that? And they all said, F yeah, let's do it. So, and the fact that it worked obviously gives him street cred. But even if it didn't work, even if they failed or got it and, Bullock makes the field goal yesterday and the Titans still win, I applaud what Dable did. As a Giants fan, that gives me hope that, that, like I said, the culture's changing. We finally have a coach. We need a quarterback still, I believe. But at least we have a coach. We're halfway there.
All right, so we'll finish up back with the Titans and the Bills. It's a Monday night. It's the home opener for the Bills. I read some numbers today. The teams that have won on that Thursday night to start the season have had a really good record because they got a little extra time to prepare. It's the home opener coming off that game. But that's should be an angry Titans team coming in. How do you think they're going to approach that game, both from a scheme perspective and also, they're going to put their backs against the wall pretty quickly in this if they start out 0-2.
You're right. The Titans know they can't afford to lose this game. They'll say all the right things if they lose. Oh, it's only 2 games. We have 15 more. We don't have to go over the statistics. Everybody knows when you start 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are very, very slim. From a scheming standpoint, Todd Downey's going to have to figure out how to push the ball downfield more and get more guys involved, like Austin Hooper. Obviously, Dontrell Hilliard was great out of the backfield yesterday, but he can't be your number one weapon. Neither can Kyle Phillips. They got to get Treylon Burks going. They got to get Robert Woods going. And they also have to, control the running game with Derrick Henry. Defensively, they got to keep Josh Allen in the pocket. They can't let him get outside. They got to make him a pocket passer, which not necessarily is a recipe for success, but it's better than letting him get outside and do, what he does normally. And they're probably going to have to double team Diggs, and that leaves you one-on-one with their other weapons. So I just think from that standpoint, the Titans are probably you're going to get the Titans' best game on Monday because they know they'll tell you it's not a must win, but we all know it's a must win. You can't start 0-2 in this league. But I said it when we started, Mike. I think from the Bills' perspective, I think they feel like they owe the Titans one because the past couple of losses have been pretty brutal for them, and I think they'd like to, really, really put a damper on their season and get their season off to a 2-0 start because, tiebreakers down the road, in this season are going to become very, very important with these head-to-head AFC matchups.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it on a Monday night. So as you did last year, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can listen. They can find you on social media and where they can listen to you because I know you got the daily show.
Oh, you're a hell of a guy for letting me do that, Mike. Twitter and Instagram at Jon Burton 32. I think you see it right there on the screen at Jon Burton 32. That is Twitter and Instagram. You can catch me every day on the Greg Pogue and Jon Burton Show, which is on Nashville Sports Radio, 95.9 here in Nashville. But we also have we stream it on our website, which is WNSR.com. And also we have an app you can download. Just search for Nashville Sports Radio, and you can hear me and Greg every day. Also on News Channel 5, there's an app for that as well. If you want to watch me on TV talk about stuff in Nashville, you can do that. But so love to hear from the Buffalo Bills fans. Anybody from upstate New York, give me a slice of home, man. I need it. I love it here in Nashville, but I try to get back to upstate New York as often as possible. So if you're from the upstate, just give me a shout out. What are you eating? What are you listening to? What's cracking? What are the Goo Goo Dolls up to? Let me know.
Absolutely. Well, great job again, and we'll talk soon. Who knows? Maybe for a playoff matchup. These teams play all the time. Maybe we'll get a playoff matchup this year, Bills and Titans.
That would be a lot of fun. I would look forward to that. Mike, always great to talk with you. I've known you for, well, how long's forever, Mike?
1 year more than that, right?
That's right.
All right. Thanks very much, Jon. And thanks to everybody for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.